Yes, well, welcome back to the Blunders. We did get a lot of complaints last time because the sound quality in our new Vestec office wasn't really all that good. So we decided to record this particular episode in the toilet. How do you like the acoustics now? Fabulous. If at any stage I need to make any plot line adjustments, I've got my notes written here. Yes, good. Let's start with another technical story, and this is the one about Boeing, which has apparently got an order from British Airways for 200, I'm not kidding, 200 new 737 MAX jets.
Sure.
But I thought this was the plane that doesn't work, right? It's the one that crashed twice in the last 6 months, killing 350 people. So what is British Airways thinking in this regard? Well, I'm not sure. Perhaps they think that British pilots are far superior and will therefore not crash. Or perhaps they think the navigation system won't be useful because the British weather is so fabulous it'll never be cloudy. No, that one's definitely not right. Or maybe they just think that passengers don't actually care about these safety issues, and after a couple of months the whole news cycle will have moved on and the planes will be considered 100% fine. Actually, that one is probably true. Yes, that one's probably true. But you know that British Airways was previously 100% Airbus customer. So I'm thinking Airbus must be pretty bummed if they bought 200 new planes from Boeing. In any event, let's see how that works out for them. I'm sure it'll all be fine.
Sure.
Right. Bit of a pollen situation in here. Let's go on to the next story. Results out for 2018 September for Steinhoff. So it's only like, I don't know, a year or so late. This is for the 2018 year ended. Remember, the problems really started around then and became apparent what a flaming dumpster fire this company actually was.
Yeah.
In any event, the results show a loss for that period back then of 1.2 billion euros, which, you know, between friends is quite a lot of money. Turns out the operations are bad. The debt levels are astronomical because, you know, the whole extend and pretend, they've just been knocking this stuff and kicking the can down the road. And any attempts to do any asset sales are basically also not going over particularly well because they can't find anyone to buy what it is that they have. But the one piece of news, which is really, really aggravating about this announcement, is that during the financial year in question, remember this is 2018, the group spent 2 billion rand on professional auditor and financial advisors in order to come in and assess just how bad the situation was. You know, like forensic auditors. So they spent 2 billion rand on forensic auditors, and the rest of the investors are basically getting nothing.
More skin in the game.
I'm trying to conjure up a metaphor for this particular situation, and what comes to mind is, you know, like raccoons scratching through the garbage. Crazed, drunken raccoons scratching through the garbage, picking it over. And remember, this is the accountants. We haven't even got yet to the lawyers. The guys that are going to have a go at making suing and counter-suing and counter-charges one against the other. In any event, it's now painfully obvious that Steinhoff is not really a going concern. It's one of those zombie organizations, a bit like ESCOM, that we all just pretend still exists and is financially viable. Yes, let's continue. Let's talk next about China. You know what it looks like the bozos from Beijing, I'm talking about the Central Committee of the People's Republic of China, have gravely overplayed their hand in Hong Kong. Look, the background here is interesting. In 1997, the Brits, who by then had seriously overstayed their welcome, gave China back its Hong Kong because it was always part of China. They just annexed it and stole it or got it in exchange for winning the Opium Wars. For 100 years they kept it. They finally gave it back in 1997. The Chinese in Beijing agreed that they wouldn't mess with, you know, individual freedoms and the constitution of Hong Kong for a long time. And now the Chinese approved administration of Hong Kong under their CEO called Carrie Lam basically wanted to bring in a law that said if you were convicted of some sort of a thing in Hong Kong, you could be extradited to Beijing, where you would presumably, you know, rot forever in a central prison. No, said the individual citizens of Hong Kong. We don't like this. And they've gone to the streets in massive protests in order to object to this, and there has been an embarrassing climb down by the administration in Hong Kong. But take a look at the picture here. This is over my shoulder, sorry, over that shoulder, no, over that shoulder. It's basically showing people in Hong Kong protesting when a major ambulance has to get through the crowd, and they basically part like the ocean in the Red Sea when the Jews were leaving Egypt. I've never seen anything like this before. So I don't think the people in Beijing ought to overplay their hand again, because when you're dealing with protesters and people as well organized at that, you better not push your luck. Staying with China, has there been a more disastrous corporate climb down and blunder than Huawei? Yikes! This was a company that was on its way to being the world's leading seller of mobile phones by the number of phones sold. I mean, just exploding in terms of its sales. Utilizing chips inside of their phones for the 3G connection and the 5G connection and all of that stuff, made by US companies Broadcom and Qualcomm. And in addition to that, really making tremendous kit that goes into the cell phone towers in order to connect everything, specifically for the new 5G networks, the high-speed networks that are coming. Whoops! They got blacklisted by the US government because of the alleged claims that Huawei allows the Chinese military to access people's information when they're connecting to cell phone networks. Allegedly. In any event, Zheng Rengfei, the guy who is the CEO, owner, founder of this company, has basically indicated that there could be a small problem with regard to revenue in the next coming years. He has downgraded the company's revenue target by $30 billion. I mean, what's $30 billion between friends? A small sum, you would have to say. I don't know. Do you think they can make a comeback from this? I'm not so sure, because they're basically having to re-engineer every single product they make in order to take out the US chips from Broadcom and Qualcomm, and governments around the world have banned them from installing their kit in the 5G networks that are coming. I don't know, but it looks like a fatal blow to me.